Well, we're back. It's been a while since we were here, but we're excited to bring you the next chapter of No Rings. I'm Philip, and I've got Paul, who's a loser too. Your Twins didn't turn out too good this year, but you guys have a new manager for next year. What do you think about that?
We have new everything, at the trade deadline, the Twins just unloaded. It was really surprising. I could see them being sellers, but to just lose your entire bullpen,
They were
you know, it,
bankrupters
I
instead of sellers.
it was definitely a salary cap dump. But also, they lost guys like Louis Varland, was a pretty big name in the World Series, and
Hmm.
they let him go for, yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what they got back for him, but just to dump your entire bullpen was pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, that was surprising to me too. And my Guardians made a late run at the season, and they're bringing everybody back. We're going to run it back, and then we've got a couple of young prospects that are, got some playing time during the playoffs. That we'll see how they do.
You still got Quan and Ramirez. You got a good mixture of veterans
Hey,
and young stars.
hey, this team is built on defensive pitching. Those two in the lineup in the top three batters, it makes a threat offensively just with those two. If we can score 4 runs a game, we'll win 85, 90 games,
Yeah,
easily.
where my Twins are just going complete youth movement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pitching. They still got Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan, who are
Hmm.
I always thought that was a good 1-2 punch. Lopez was hurt a lot of this year, but
Hmm.
they've gone with their lineup. They are just going youth movement, and I kind of like it actually. I like their infield especially. I think when you got across, so you got Royce Lewis at third. Brooks Lee is going to be the shortstop. Luke Keyshaw is like the upcoming star, or hopeful star at least, at second base. And then we'll see what they do at first. They've got some prospects coming up. Walker Jenkins is kind of their big guy, big name coming up.
Wouldn't it be better to move Royce Lewis to first and then find another third baseman?
He can play. I mean, talk about a guy that
I
just
know he
can't stay
can play.
healthy.
He's athletic. He's very athletic. I know he can play third base, but just to get another bat, it's in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you'd put at third, though. They've got the prospect coming up
No,
as a
I mean
first
go
base,
out and get
Walker
somebody
Jenkins.
third. There's a lot of
Yeah.
third basemen. They
Yeah.
could
Oh,
get
yeah, for sure.
Bregman from Boston. He's a free agent again. No, they could do fill that hole with that.
I
There's
don't
some
I don't see
third
him going
basemen
out and
out there.
signing high price guys by any means.
Well, Bregman was he didn't have that great a year, and he was on a 1 year contract basically with Boston. So they might be able to sign him to another 1 year minimum, good money for 1 year, you know,
Yeah.
just to see what happens.
I most of the money's got to go to the bullpen. I mean, you almost have to rebuild it. They just don't have much
What are
there
you
right
going to do?
now.
13?
Maybe.
There's teams that do carry 13,
Yep. Yep.
and then the rest, and you got some guys that can play different positions in the lineup, so we'll see what happens. So what do you think about Blake Shelton?
Derek Shelton, right?
Yeah, Derek Shelton. I'm sorry, Blake
You
Shelton's a
know,
totally
it
different
struck me.
person.
It struck me. Yep. It struck me during the search part of it when the rumors were coming out how provincial Minnesota is, and it was all. I heard Torrey Hunter mentioned. I heard
Nick
Nick Punto mentioned.
Suzuki.
James Rowson. He was kind of my dark horse pick. I thought maybe they might go with him. He was the hitting coach for the Twins when they had the Bomba squad, when Nelson Cruz and those guys were just hitting home runs every other at bat. I
Hmm.
thought maybe they'd go with him, but they went with Shelton, who was here. He was the bench coach under Rocco, so I don't know. It almost had to be
It's
somebody with Twins ties.
Yeah. I myself, the one I would have picked would have been Torrey Hunter, because that immediately
Would have been
brings the
fun.
fans back. It immediately brings the fans back.
But yeah, he's
You know,
about the most likable guy,
yeah,
the Twins have
and
had.
he's fresh. He's fresh. He is just out of the game. What, 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and people still know who he is, so they're going to respect him right away. I could just see him getting in one of these guys' ears that's playing the outfield and turn him into a solid player.
Well, with Shelton, I guess, it might be this. I don't mean to say this to hurt you, but it might be the Bill Belichick thing. Shelton had his one managerial piece of experience with a team that wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. So with Pittsburgh. So he's got his experience. Maybe he'll come in here and do a good job. I sure hope so.
I hope so for you. I'd like win the division crown when the Twins are in second place. That would be great.
Okay. I'll take a wild card this year for sure.
And you are delusional when you think that you're just delusional. You think you're going to win right away.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Hopefully
you
they
said
can
Bill
build off of some of these
Belichick.
prospects.
You said Bill Belichick. That's a winner, right away. He didn't mess around.
I don't even know off the top of my head. When he went to the Patriots, they
made the playoffs the first year.
First year he was there? Yeah.
He had, what's his name, at quarterback, Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
They made the playoffs, yeah.
They had a pretty good backup for him, too.
Yeah. He ended up taking over, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't remember his name, do you?
Tom something?
He called the Viking game this week, if you want a nice segue here.
Yeah, there's a good segue. He goes, yeah, he's a Michigan man. About J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, Michigan man.
Did he sound biased at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think he did too.
Yeah.
Hey,
absolutely.
If Tom Brady, if you get the seal of approval from Tom Brady, okay, I'm for it.
Well, now if we start to talk about Michigan, you know what we need to move to next. My Ohio State Buckeyes, the number one ranked team in the country. And they're playing like number ones too. They are.
They sure are. They seem like they're number one with a pretty big gap. Who's number two now? Indiana?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me pull up the polls. I think that out of first place votes, I think Indiana's the only team that recorded first place votes besides Ohio State. So that's pretty impressive to me. We've got Ohio State with 54 first place votes, Indiana with 11 first place votes, and Texas A&M with 1 first place votes. And you sent me a little thing the other day about the top 25 preseason and then the top 20. And
there were some misses in there, weren't there?
Let's just look at this, okay? So we have Texas, the preseason 2025 by AP was Texas number 1, Penn State number 2, Ohio State number 3, Clemson number 4, and Georgia number 5, okay?
Clemson and Penn State are out of the top 10 for sure now. Are they out of the top 25?
Let's see if Clemson's still in here.
And
they're out of the top 25.
Texas should be ranked number 3 in the state of Texas.
Yes, because they have A&M and Texas. Yeah, that's very true. But right now we're sitting with Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, A&M number 3, and Alabama number 5. And then Georgia, if number 4 is Alabama, number 5 is Georgia. So they got the number 5 right in both.
In the preseason?
Yeah, the preseason and where it's sitting today, they got that right. But it's been pretty interesting that some teams like Vanderbilt has stepped up. Indiana has played beyond what people thought, where they were 20 in the preseason poll. So they've really stepped up. Notre Dame has moved into the top 10. They were perennial top 10 team before with the poll too, but they took a couple losses early on and then just started winning. That's what happens when you switch quarterback, except at Ohio State, when you have Julian Sayin, who is probably the best quarterback in the country. You're going to go quiet on that, or you got something for me?
Well, I'm trying to think of, the Indiana quarterback is pretty darn good. You still got Carson Beck out there. I just wonder, if you had those guys throw into Tate and some of your receivers in Ohio State, how would they look?
Tate, Smith,
you're right,
and Ennis, and then bring freshmen off the bench. Yeah, I think that these guys would be pretty good, but I don't think they'd be his passing percentage is over 80%.
Yeah.
It's over 80%.
Your team's just loaded. No two ways about it.
Yeah. I saw last week, Nick Saban was on ESPN and he goes, yeah, Sam was at Alabama. And the dumbass coach kept him on the practice squad. He was running the scout. He was running the scout team for the whole year. What a dumbass. So that was funny. He can make fun of himself. I don't think he'll ever coach again, but there's one announcer I see that will probably try to jump on that Penn State thing, and that's Urban Meyer because
You think
he is a
so?
little sleazy. He's a little sleazy. Even though he won a national championship at Ohio State, he's a little sleazy.
Well, had he had an embarrassing experience at Jacksonville in the NFL, so maybe he's trying to resurrect things.
Yeah, I think that's what he's got a bad taste in his mouth from that. There's a couple of different places he could go, but Penn State makes more sense because they have a defensive coordinator already. He would just need to bring somebody in to run the offense. Foles is still a pretty good defensive coordinator. He proved that against Ohio State this week, only holding them to 38 points.
Well, that's a win, isn't it?
Yeah, for any team really.
When your offense isn't doing anything.
Yeah, well, I mean they did nothing, nothing. To score 14 points, that's the most anybody scored all year. But is there any other team in the top 5 that I gave you for this year that you could think would give Ohio State or Indiana a chance at those top 2 spots?
No, there isn't. Which tells me, I mean, we hadn't talked about this, but what do you think about the Big Ten versus the SEC? Now that all the expansions happened, which is the stronger conference?
I still take the Big Ten. 'Cause you go out to the West Coast and you're putting everything together with Oregon, Washington's good, USC is coming around. UCLA is going to be good next year. They are going to be good next year. And then you still have the perennial Ohio State, the team up north, Indiana, and then Penn State on a normal year, they would be decent. Michigan State's making a run to come back.
Illinois has been good.
Yeah, Illinois, thank you. And Northwestern, every 4th year, they're good. So I give it that. The SEC, one thing that they do more than the Big Ten does is beat up on each other. So they're more depleted when it comes playoff time because they beat up on each other so bad. They've got Georgia going after Florida every year. That's an every year. And then you've got Auburn, Auburn, they go up against each other every year. Tennessee, yeah. The Vols. Who is their big rival? Vanderbilt? Because it's in state?
Probably Georgia, actually. I don't know that Vanderbilt's program has been at the level where they would be considered a rival until now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably been Georgia that's the most reviled around here.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the top 25 and top 2025 playoffs. They just drew this the last couple of days. And we've got number 1, Ohio State, number 2, Indiana, number 3, Texas A&M, and number 4, Alabama. They all have byes. And then you look at Georgia playing Memphis, which that really makes no sense. Ole Miss playing Virginia, and then you've got Texas Tech playing against Oregon, and which would be a very good first round game. Texas Tech and Oregon would be a first round game that I would want to see. And the other one is 7 against 10, and it's Notre Dame versus BYU. That would be a barn burner. The University of Notre Dame, UND, they play pretty good. But I would take BYU. BYU is a solid program right now. Very solid. Have you seen them play yet?
I have not. I have not
Yeah,
seen them this year.
put them on your radar. Put them on your radar.
Looking forward to the playoff. This should
Yeah.
be fun. I'm so glad they're doing this. I'm so glad they finally moved to a playoff like this.
Do you think they need to increase it from 12?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I don't think honestly the number 12 team in the country does not stand much of a chance against Ohio State. But that's why you do a playoff. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch like a 7-10 game like that would be really fun to watch. Not that they necessarily have great odds of advancing too much further, but still it's entertaining football.
Well, Ohio State was a 6 last year, if I remember correctly, and they still ended up coming through and winning.
That's Ohio State though.
Yeah, that's true. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Let's move on to the NBA. We've got quite a few things going on with the NBA. The number one thing is the gambling debacle, let's say, with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier as being in the league right now. One is a player, one is a coach. And then Damon Jones, who's a friend of LeBron's and still very visible around the Lakers from what I've heard. He doesn't have a job for the Lakers, but he was around. They're all being implemented or implicated, excuse me, implicated in gambling, which is uh, art games for Chauncey, and then point shaving for Rozier, and then illegal information from Damon Jones, and then Chauncey also illegal information going off of the injury report and holding players out and stuff like that for
Crazy.
Chauncey. It's all alleged, but they've got some pretty solid facts when it comes to Rozier. There was one game that they showed him turn the ball over. He threw it to the other team 3 times when
And
he
it
was
was
with
one game,
Charlotte.
didn't he play like 9 minutes and then took himself
Yeah,
out, basically?
he he averaged like 11 points in the first quarter for 5 games in a row or something like that, and he had 5 points, and then he ended up taking himself out of the game and never came back for the rest of the season.
Well, another name mentioned has been Kevin Garnett,
But he was not
only in the
he
card
was
stuff, right?
yeah, in the card stuff, and
Yeah.
he was a fish, as they called
Yeah.
him, a fish. And, another one was Antonio Gates was a fish, and then Tyronn Lue was a fish, and those are the big names I've heard.
So they
But
basically got invited to a poker game to lose their money, and now they're being implicated in this.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
they're being
I feel like any kind of gambling by athletes and coaches is a bad thing. It
mhm,
makes a the difference for me in my mind, the difference between a card game versus fixing your sports, your basketball games is a big leap. And if they're guilty of the second, you can't have them. You can't have them in the league anymore.
yeah, that's so true. It puts a black eye on the league.
It does, and it
And
makes it makes you so when you watch the game, it can be a game that doesn't have anything to do with them or anything else, but you watch a game and you see some questionable things happen, like some questionable call or something. It puts some doubt in your mind, and that's really bad for the sport.
mhm. So that segues into Tom Donahue, who was Tim Donahue, who was arrested years ago. And now the NBA refs are wearing headsets so that they can make the right call presumably they can make the right call on the court rather than going to the video every single time. They've got somebody, big brother, listening for them. So how do you feel about that?
Time will tell. I mean, they get the calls wrong enough that they need to do something to try to fix it. Whether this fixes or makes it worse, we'll see. But it's a tough. You watch these games, especially when you're there live. If you've got decent seats, you're down somewhat near the court. How do you know the game moves so fast? Especially some of these where they're battling over the ball, it goes out of bounds. Who touched it last? That's a tough call to make. A lot of times,
Mhm.
you get this slow motion replay, and you can tell. Sometimes you can't even tell then. But
Right.
when you see it in slow motion, you just kind of realize how are you expected to make these calls? It's like in baseball. I mean, people complain about balls and strikes all the time, but this thing's coming at 95 miles per hour with movement, and you're supposed to tell if it's an inch outside or not. That's just not. I don't think it's can be expected.
No, that's for sure. It's for sure. There is something to replay, but there's also something to the human aspect of the game. I'd rather take the human than the robot every time.
I'm on the other side of it, especially if you want to talk baseball and robots. If we can sit here at home and watch a game and see if that ball made it into that little box or not, we know it's
Mhm,
a strike before the umpire does, or even better than the umpire does. And why is that? When instant replay first came on board in the NFL, I thought it was a lot of people thought you're taking the human element out of the game.
mhm.
I'm more on the side, let's get it right. Let's just get it right. And I think because of instant replay, they probably get it right more than they used to, but still they get it wrong an awful lot. There've been the two Viking games, not this past one, but the two previous, that a catch on the field was ruled a catch. One was the Isaiah Rodgers pick six, and the one Jefferson had. Was that just last week? Maybe it
Yeah,
was.
it was. It was.
I thought both of those were catches.
Mhm.
The week before that, they reversed the TJ Hawkinson touchdown. I did think that was incomplete. I thought the ball hit the ground and was moving a little bit. The other two, the ball hit the ground, but I thought they had control. They at least didn't have enough to overturn what was ruled on the field, but somehow they saw it differently.
Well, it's because everybody's against the Vikings.
That's true.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, now that we've got that squared away, that we know that everybody's against the Vikings, we've got a team in Minnesota, my favorite team in Minnesota, but my only team in Minnesota, the Timberwolves. They're playing pretty decent ball for not having
Without
Ant
Ant.
Edwards in the lineup for 2 weeks. He's going to miss about 8 games. He's missed 3 or 4 so far. He is back to full participation. Ooh,
Yeah.
participation in practice, but he's not ready to play yet. They played the Knicks and they played Brooklyn the other day. They played the Knicks on Wednesday. How do you feel that this team matches up with the Knicks without Edwards?
Well, it makes it tougher for sure. I think it's almost like, when you have your backup quarterback in there, you just got to kind of hang in there, try to win half your games, try to win a good percentage of your games until you get them back. I kind of feel like that's the way it is with the Wolves too. Just hang in there, don't lose too much ground, and then when Ant
Hmm.
comes back, you're at full strength. Go get him.
Yeah, yeah, it's good call, my friend. Good call. You
Speaking of which, do you know what happened last weekend?
what?
It's a very rare thing that Minnesota sports hit the quadfecta. The
Okay,
Wild,
give
the
it.
Wolves, the Gopher football team, and the Vikings all won last weekend.
And the weekend before, they all lost, correct?
I think that's correct. Yeah, that's more likely.
So the quadfecta. Do you have that registered with the U.S. Department of
Did I make up that? Did
Copyrights?
I just make up a word?
It sounds like it. Yeah, let's get that in as soon as we can. What I've got here on my list is NFL trade deadline stuff. And you're the guru of the NFL, so give us your breakdown on that.
Well, there weren't a lot of big things that took place. The Vikings did nothing, which I can understand. Your Browns gave up Greg Newsome. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with Campbell, the guy they
Yeah, I
got
mean, you
for him.
basically you virtually made
He's
a
made big
cornerback for
plays
cornerback
already.
trade.
Newsom couldn't tackle if his life depended on it. The guy, Campbell, he's a great tackler. He's had a couple of picks or a couple of defensive plays because they took one pick away from him and he ran back. But he's a nice player. He's a nice player, and he's got a little bit of a better contract for the Browns.
Sure, sure. The big one, of course, was Sauce Gardner and Quinnen
That's
Williams
huge.
going. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts. Quinnen Williams going to the Cowboys. What are the Cowboys doing?
They
But
have no idea how to play football or to organize a team.
yeah, the Sauce Gardner trade is to me the most interesting one because it tells
Two
me,
first rounds, 2 first rounders, right?
yeah, I mean it was very expensive. I mean he's a great player.
Um,
He had a better rookie season than he's had the last couple, but he's a great player. He's a great corner. It tells me that the Colts are seriously going for it this year. I think they're
yeah,
looking around the AFC and they're saying, okay, the Chiefs obviously, the Chiefs aren't even a playoff team right now. They probably will
right.
be, who knows? But they're not what they were a few years ago. The Bills seem to, they still have Josh Allen, so they can always win a
Hmm.
game, but they're not what they used to be, or they seem to struggle some. The Ravens have struggled without Lamar Jackson. They've got him back now, but their defense doesn't seem to be typical Raven defense. So maybe the Colts are thinking, you know what, we've got a shot at this. Let's F those picks. Let's get Sauce Gardner in here, and they've got
You
Cam
can always
Bynum
get it
back
back.
there.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty good team. Last week after the Chargers game with the Vikings, I don't think I've ever heard KOC get the kind of criticism that he got after that game. They were calling for his head in some places and
Hmm.
and criticizing his play calling and his preparation and all that kind of stuff. And now, of course, you go and beat Detroit and that all goes away. But you want to hear criticism of
Hmm.
KOC? What happens if the Super Bowl is Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold?
I don't think that should be on him. That should be on Quasi.
Well, it would be on both for sure, for sure, and it's
When it
possible. I
comes,
mean, both the
it,
Seahawks and Colts are playing pretty well.
yeah. But the team that I'm most scared of in the AFC, Denver Broncos.
Yeah, yeah.
Bo
Bo
Nix
Nix
is
is more than I
okay.
expected.
I expected it. I expected it. I've got people that I told they were like JJ McCarthy, and I said Bo Nix. Bo Nix is ready to play. They talked about Michael Penix, and I said, Bo Nix. Nobody listened to me, but who am I? Who am I? Just a little guy who likes to watch basketball and college football. And guess what?
Well,
Bo
you
Nix
watch
played
enough.
college football. He played college football. So who better to ask than me?
Yeah, I mean, you watch enough college football that you've got a good opinion on it.
Hmm.
I don't know. To me, it kind of comes down to I'm an NFL draft geek,
Yes.
and when it came down to that year in the draft, to me, the big question, and the COVID years added to this
Mm,
question, but it was the difference between drafting a 21-year-old and what was Bo Nix and Michael Penix were almost 25, weren't they?
24. Yeah, they were almost 25,
You
24
know,
plus.
and there were a lot of people out there that thought you shouldn't draft somebody that old. Well, to me, especially at quarterback, you got all right, so you're gonna have a guy for 5 years between 25 and 30 under a rookie contract versus somebody that's 21 to 26. When are you getting them in their prime?
Mm,
I don't think that's so bad. I still am very optimistic about JJ McCarthy, especially after Sunday's game, but that age thing of the same thing. We're seeing the same thing, the same draft with Dallas Turner for the Vikings, who was 21 when they drafted him, versus like Jared Verse for the Rams, who's been a great player so far. And
hmm
some of it's just, I think back to when I was 25 versus 21. That's a big
hmm
maturity jump. At least it was for me.
Yeah, and your body has to catch up too. In most cases, what do they call that? The muscle memory. That's another thing that you got to worry about too. You don't have that running right off of the bat either.
Yeah, the 10,000 reps, right? Bo Nix had way more reps than JJ McCarthy did.
And JJ McCarthy played for Michigan, so
Yeah, I know.
it's
So I know.
yeah, yeah. So I always have that to lean on. So, my friend, we have touched a lot of stuff. We have so much more to talk about. So let's
We
try to
do.
get together. Let's try to get together a little bit more often. And
Yeah, that's for sure.
I hope the weather treats you well down in Tennessee.
We're gonna get a cold snap here, but
So are we. So are we.
not
But
nearly as
it's
cold as you are.
so enjoy yourself and don't work too hard on your basement.
I
All
can't
right.
help it. We have to. The harder we work, the sooner it's done.
All right. You could get that pool table in. All right.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us, folks.